So onto the Valix belt. There's going to be 2 air swings and a movement-based mission, and there's going to be a ship mission. So this is, in my opinion, is one of the harder levels in the game. So you, unfortunately, it is like in the halfway point of the game. So it does suck when you lose your run here. But here's how you do Valix. So the first mission, we're going to set up this air swing. And before you start walking forwards, first equip a weapon. I would recommend the Quasar turret launcher. There's 2 weapons I recommend, actually. The Quasar turrets or the Vulcan cannon. There's small advantages to both. The Quasar turrets can take out some enemies that might bother you on this upcoming air swing. But the Vulcan cannon allows for a slightly easier time doing movement because you can take out that lamp right there. So I'll show it off with the Quasar turrets though, since again, this is a beginner guide, so want to make sure that you can get runs out. Walk to your right, charge, and then shoot. And then go to the very end of the plank so that you don't let the dropship lock onto your bots. If you're too far from it, it might get distracted by the bots instead. And you're going to charge into it, and this is how you initiate the air swing. Charge into it, do a state cancel, and you'll need to take 1 more hit. And then, boom, you're off to the end. So again, the problem with this air swing is, I'll show you with the Vulcan cannon, just to make sure I don't kill any enemies. So, if you don't do this right, the dropship will lock onto your bots instead of you, so you really gotta lock in. But also, as you saw, there was a blue swarmer behind me, and that's something that can bother you. That's why I would recommend the Quasar turrets, just to ensure that they won't be a nuisance to you. Also, I took an additional hit. That wasn't necessary. I was just taking the time to explain. So you're gonna air swing all the way to the end, get into the lighthouse, and then you can either hack the bolt crank or have a bot do it for you, depending on how quick you are to wipe out the enemies. I recommend having a bot do it for you because otherwise the enemies will continuously shoot at you. And now the weapons that I would recommend getting ready. Mines, Vulcan Cannon, Leviathan Flail. The Holy Trio. Space Ace is a really easy mission. There's not much to go over. This is just the optimal route. Hold down the R1 button, obviously, to shoot at every enemy. And then whenever you see an executioner, lightly mash L1. You don't have to break your finger or your controller to get out those lasers that the hovership fires. Get them out as quickly as you possibly can. And then after you get rid of the executioners, then you prioritize the regular Dread Zone bots. That is at least how I like to do it. Eventually you learn damage thresholds for how much damage each enemy takes, and you'll be able to do this mission a little more confidently, a little more quickly. So for the 7th group of enemies that I'm about to kill right now, there's a chance that a Dread Zone bot will get stuck on this asteroid and not die. This asteroid right here, so watch out for that. It's not very common, but if that does happen, just go ahead and kill it. And make sure that you check that all the enemies are dead before moving on. So, number 9, go over here. Then you're going to go onto an asteroid right behind you. And then you're going to turn to your right after you're done with this group of enemies, and there will be the last 2 groups of enemies. So, this isn't a very difficult mission at all. You're just going to have to learn like the correct direction to go. And that's all that it really takes for this mission. So next mission, Power Up. It's a movement-based mission. Pretty easy. Charge inside the lighthouse. Then get over here. Set up the mine launcher to do a mine clip. And keep charging. If you've ever speedrun Ratchet and Clank, you know the golden rule is that you have to hold the stick neutral when doing movement. In this case, I would hold it forward for this jump right here. Because I've had moments where I do hold neutral and my momentum dies there. In this case, it actually still died despite the fact that I was holding forward. But usually you're going to land on this slope right here, so just like hold forward. You're not going to like, it's better to hold forward than not to hold forward, in my opinion. It's the only time you'll have to worry about that. So then go to this door, mine clip through. Be aware that there's some enemies on the other side that can be of a bit of a trouble. Like that executioner right there, they're trying to clip through. And then have the fusion rifle ready. So this final air swing is pretty difficult. I'm not going to teach the setup I do because that one has a ton of menuing and complex movement. This air swing setup relies on this dropship being broken because it will cause some dread zone bots to spawn, and you will use those to take additional hits. After you like do the state cancel, you have to take 2 additional hits. Um, I have seen somebody do it with just 1 hit, but to be safe, do it with 2 because it'll extend the amount of time you can spend air swinging. So 2 hits to the dropship. Charge into the cycloid laser, or you can also charge into the bullets from the dread zone bots if you wish. In this case, I had an easy time charging into the cycloid. You gotta really learn to read its attack patterns. The laser does not extend very far, so yeah, good timing is key for charging into the cycloid attack. So now, state cancel, 1, 2, and then point this way. Point slightly to the right of this light. Be careful because there is a no wrench zone. I'll show you once I start the air swing. So that asteroid right there, if Ratchet goes over it, his wrench inputs drop. You cannot do hyper strikes or hyper stacks or air swings, anything like that. So that's why I recommend using that visual cue where you go just slightly to the right of that little light on the platform, or else you're gonna fall and die and you're gonna have to restart the mission. So once you get to the end, you can make small adjustments. You'll use this little slope to gain height. Then you're gonna charge up to the end, shoot these enemies, and take out all these guys, and either turn the bolt crank yourself or have a bot do it for you. I usually have a bot do it for me because of stuff like this. But in this case, I did it myself. I'm just gonna have the bot do it for me. Yeah, if you do the bolt crank yourself, you run a very big risk. I don't really recommend manually doing the bolt crank for this mission. For the first mission, there is a bit of a reason if you wipe out all the enemies in that room of Lost and Found. But for Let the Light Shine Through, I just take out all the enemies and have a bot do it for me. Now, if that air swing proves to be a little difficult for you to set up, you can also just go through the level normally. So, fire, and then charge over here, and you'll need a minimum of 2 hyper stacks to cross over this gap. Just to be safe. Lag cancel to get onto this platform, because if you try and flail cancel, sometimes it just might not work. You'll just get stuck in place. Get on the elevator. Once the elevator's done, charge into the swing targets. Jump and then charge off into the distance. Sometimes the bots can take a bit to spawn there, so I would recommend just to be as fast as possible, to just do hyper stacks across that large gap as you saw me do just now, rather than wait for the bot to deploy a grind cable. Then keep charging, fire at any enemies that come in your way, charge across this little slope thing, and then get in the room, and same story as last time, have a bot do it for you just because more enemies could spawn. Wow, that cycloid is really interesting. Let's just embrace the beauty that we just witnessed. Anyways, yeah, that's Valix Belt. So, it's a decently difficult planet. Well, it's not really a planet, it's a space station. On to Planet Torval.